Okay, let's start. The idea is that we collect impressions about what was going on last 2 weeks, and also to get some more insight in the theoretical background of this project, which was planned by Drago, and I was a kind of participant at the beginning and now also at the end. First, I would like to give a word to Drago. He will present us the whole project being, which is now being done since 1999. How it developed, what kind of topics were related to this project, and so on.
Thank you. So maybe I will put more here now. I will briefly explain how the things start, Project BITI, and genesis of the project. So, the history of the project dates back to 2009. When we concluded the successful 2-year project Divided God, that we carried in collaboration with youth partners organizations from 5 European cities: Berlin, Istanbul, Novi Sad, and Mostar. In this project, we played the role of initiators and coordinators. Our objective was to explore the influence, power, responsibility of religion framed in the question: do religions which advocate for peace, understanding, and cooperation actually contribute to these goals, or could they potentially be key factors for division and conflicts on a global scale? Naturally, we arrived at the conclusion that religions, as ideologies, mostly do not unite people, but often divide them and lead to extremism and violence. The question I posed at that time was, what can be a common factor, foundation to connect people? I quickly realized that this bond had to be something greater and more powerful, something that could make a threat to humanity as a whole. The answer presented itself considering the ecological challenges of that time, increasing pollution of the nature and planet, and the growing concern for ecology. The project with the name BITI invokes the values of us collaboration and respectiveness for other spaces as well as for nature and the environment. This concept functions as a global solution that can be realized at the local level, in cities divided by nationality or religion, as common care for clean water, fresh air, and fertile soil concerns and matters to all of us. In essence, this is something that unites rather than divides. From the very beginning, the project has been operating on the 3 levels. At the domestic level, within the student dormitory known as BITS, where we reside; at the local level in the city, and at the national and international levels. One of the central slogans of the Ivan Sankar student dormitory is "Dit is the world, dit is svet." Indeed, it represents a small world where around 600 young individuals attending high schools in Ljubljana reside. It is a sufficiently sizable, representative, and measurable space that can be influenced and transformed. We are fully aware of this challenge and opportunity. It tells us that if we cannot succeed here, there may be not much hope for us. And opposite, if we succeed here, we can replicate this achievement anywhere. The primary tool we employ is artivism, which also includes the art of food, cultivation, fair trade, respectful communication, and interaction with others, regardless of their differences. Our goal is to raise awareness, awaken, empower, and enhance the capabilities and skills of the youth to tackle the challenges of the modern world. This is the purpose, objective, and mission of the BITI project. Signed 2011, approximately every 2 years, we have been organizing international youth challenges where we exchange knowledge and experience and share them with related groups from the broader region, the EU and beyond. BITI Resilience marks the 6th exchange of this kind. It follows the previous ones. BITI Youth Exchange in 2011, BITI Being Citizen 2013, BITI Young 2015, BITI In 2018, and BITI Permacool 2021. So, the chosen themes consistently align with the pressing issues that interest and affecting young people. The same holds true for this year BITI Resilient Exchange, which reflects a response to the reality we are surrounded by. This is briefly about Project BITI, and no, I guess for the beginning maybe it will be enough.
Okay, thank you. Secondly, I would like to ask mentors to give us some thoughts about what you were experiencing during this period, and later we will invite also young participants to.
First.
I was one of the mentors of Drama Theatre Workshop. We started with a movement. I believe it's very important. I think the theater drama it's exploring 3 types of relationship with ourselves and others and the world around us. And during this time, during these 15 days, I think I learned from youth. That is, I think, most important to say how we can support their growth. So I was learning how to connect. For young people are very, very important to be connected, to be present in their bodies, in the connections with others and the world. They have so much to tell us. They have their voice, and for me it was most important to create a safe place just to exploring all the topics. And when we created the safe place, they had so many ideas. I think we were doing all together. It wasn't me mentoring that work, but it was them creating the materials. So it was a great opportunity for me to learn from them and to just try to, deliver or to have this as a model in my working with other youth.
Okay, thank you. This is a very important message because especially tools for drama expressions are very, very useful for changing the relationship between teacher and pupil, and this is what is very, very important. That's why in many sites in the world we are now experimenting with using some dramatic tools during the lectures and so on.
I think it's very important. I work in formal and informal education, and I see how it's important to start with our own body. I really think when you do this, or when you change a little things, you start to think and to have appreciation for others, and you're now giving strength to say what you are feeling, what are you, what are your thoughts, and just to have that communication. It's the school is a different system. It's a closed system. It's a rigid system, and they don't have this kind of opportunity to have this experience, to have so many different activities that I think the most important in school they are giving informations, and in youth exchange like this, they have opportunity to live that information and for that information to become knowledge. I think that is important. We live this. We live the context, we are solving problems, we are exploring what is hurtful or maybe for us, and that is some different kind of knowledge that is created and creates empathy. That is the most important.
Thank you.
Well, I would just also, I would go from what you actually said before. Well, first of all, I'm Yasmin. I come from Palestine, and I did also a workshop about physical theater with Micha, yeah, it was quite the experience, to be honest. And we were actually talking about it, you know, when we were in the pool, how much the education system is not up to date in giving the information for the students, how much it is now for them boring. They're used to quick information, to more colors, to more, you know, more faster ways of gaining the information, which is good and bad at the same time. But the most important thing is, for me, for this experience, is observing. For me, it was the first time using, for instance, AI in the workshop, and it was really, really very, very nice, you know, just sitting there and talking to the screen and, you know, having more ideas about it, and then the participants were even more excited about it, and they felt a little bit more connected to what we're doing, and then the outcome, the whole outcome of it was even deeper than I thought. You know? I was watching the videos that we made and the moves that were created by all the participants and, you know, with the mentors, and I'm looking and I'm like, they get it, you know?
And
it's resilience is
personal.
not, yes,
Personal
it was
stories.
personal.
That was important.
Yes, and it was really good that it all came, for instance, from them. So they developed it. We helped with the tools that we already know we have, you know, as trainers and as people who work in the art field, but it was all them, watching them interacting together from different backgrounds, and the amount of energy that they have, and they were never tired. I was telling my group, do you have 3 minutes of silence, please? No. Every time we failed in that game, no 3 minutes of silence. And that really took me also back to the time that I was a student, still learning, and even still in acting school, how it changed completely from then to now. Of course, I don't forget about the aspect that art could be very, very therapeutic to everyone, you know. For instance, the Palestinian team, I thought it was really good for them to just go out in such a safe space for them, to experience new things, to dare to ask things that they are not, you know, particularly encouraged to ask in a conservative community or an occupied country or whatever, you know, to experience their identity as individuals and young people who are craving arts. I think this was a very, very important experience for them and for me, honestly. Of course, I don't forget about all the hard times, you know, just, you know, it wasn't easy, like all sugar and bubbles, and of course not. We faced so many difficulties. We met, we can see, of course, because, you know, by time, as someone who works for years in this field, you start to realize that these movements, these arts that you saw, graffitis, music, it comes from also pain, a lot of pain. And seeing all of them just taking the courage to do it was really inspiring for everyone. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah, thank you. I would agree that art is a serious game.
Yes.
Very serious.
And comedy is a serious game.
Serious.
They were laughing the whole
Yeah,
time, but
yeah.
it's serious, you know. I could see how much they got out of their, you know, chests, you know, just in the workshop with them moving, you know, very fast and jumping and lifting each other. It was really inspiring to see that all the time, you know, with such a new generation. And of course, after the corona, it's a complete different story. You know, their bodies are used to completely different type of movement. You know, also laptops, computers, phones all the time. Everything is electronic. So just to be able to interact physically with each other and verbally, to see each other in person was important. Yeah.
You see, during this Corona pandemic, in Slovenia, schools were closed for a very, very long time. And during this time, I was part of a project which was called Developing Communication Competencies through Cultural Art Education. And after 1 year of closing time, my idea was that the common topics of different artistic activities would be resistance.
Yeah.
So perhaps this was Drago knew this what was happening there, and perhaps this is one piece which helps to structure this project.
I mean, this is very interesting what you're saying, because I also work as in an organization for medical clowning, and I do medical clowning. And for me, as a person who is used to being in contact with people all the time, as an actress, as a clown, as everything, going to Corona and being online, I felt resilient to being online. You know, I just needed to learn all of these techniques about how to be in front of the camera, how to present myself for the kid or for the elderly person who I'm clowning to with the nose, you know, just very small frames. But for this generation, this is the normal, you know, it's not, and this is a pity, you know, it's a pity to only experience this because it's their, you know, first years of growing up and experiencing life. This is important. Just
but
being
anyway, we have to try to use this new tools
definitely
in more creative ways.
Exactly. That's why I said it was really important when we started with the AI, with the beginning of in the beginning of the because they can connect with it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, for me, one of the funny things is that every time someone asks me how many times have you worked with BITS and the wonderful positive team, I never know the answer to that question, because it always feels like, you know, I've known them for my whole life in various capacities. I was part of the BITI project. I was here as a participant when I was in like my senior year of high school. And later on, I went to the United States, and I carried with me the experience that I have gotten, that I got here, working with these wonderful mentors. Rado was a mentor then, Bosko was there, Miha was there, and it's just wonderful now to see how, you know, it's a privilege to be able to learn from someone, but also work with them and learn together, right? And I feel like I've been learning with these people for a long, long time, and it's been more than rewarding for me. Then there's the question why we do theater. I believe every one of us theater makers have that answer that we've that we give to ourselves. For me, it's the people, right? It's the teamwork, it's the communication, it's what we learn in between. In betweenness is the key, in between the relationships, in between the social events and the aspects of, you know, everyday life. And to be here for 15 days and to spend time with people in the same building is a huge privilege. It's a safe space where we can all learn and create together. Other than that, one of the great things here is that there's a lot of different levels of experience that people carry with them once they arrive here, right? And I believe it's beneficial both for, you know, active students of performing arts academies, high school students, people that are only sort of, you know, doing amateur theater, it's beneficial for both because the things that are done here in all the departments are something that professionals and current students need to always work on and always drill and drill and drill, like the spatial awareness and working with the partner, off the partner. But also it's beneficial for someone who hasn't had a chance to do anything in theater arts, and it's a safe space where they can get the sort of like the intro course to what it means, what it is to play and to create while playing. And I believe the play is the key, right, of at the end of the day, just like Boris Stepanovic says, the ex-Yugoslavian actor. So yes, I believe I am more than privileged to be here, and thankful and very, very happy and excited every time. So thank you.
Does anybody else want to share your impressions?
Well, maybe I can speak on the behalf of the street art and design workshop. As I've been a part of it in the past as a participant and now being a co-mentor with Matej, I think that it's really interesting to see how also the visual art can be a form of communication for all the participants and how they want to express themselves through, like, I don't know, like subtle ideas, and especially when street art is still considered as a vandalism, in that point. And here it can be a form of expression, and where participants can really say what they want to say, what is their message, and also, have fun with it. And that's really good to see, because I don't know, like at the start of the workshop, usually they don't know what they want to do or how they want to do it, but as the week progresses, it's really interesting to see how just everybody gets in their zone, and they're like, oh, can I do this? Oh, can I try this? Oh, I want to do this. And it's really interesting to see how this develops. And we were both impressed by the artworks that they produced this year, because it's really beautiful and it's great to see such diversity and so much meaningful things that are hidden, behind these shapes and colors. And so in that way, I think that art is really a form of language that we usually don't think about as much. Just great to see, oh yeah, every performance can be, oh, that's great, oh yes, they were looking good, and even sometimes as a performer you think, oh, do they look my best right now? But in the end, it's not important. It's the experience that you give to people, and also visual art can impact a lot of that, and it's also the product that you create from yourself and from your thoughts, and it's really nice to see how engaged everybody got and produce such amazing work in that way.
Thank you. It's very nice that you mentioned this ambivalence about our relationship to street art. I would like to share you one anecdote. My previous works, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, we worked with kindergarten children on the topics of street art. And when they wanted to really be street artists, So when they're doing good and when they're doing serious, this attitude can really change. And it's very important that this is also part of the school system, from kindergarten to the university.
And exactly as you mentioned, since you know you're doing this with children, it's really interesting to kind of connect this way to, you know, now the youngsters and us, like old people, how to kind of embrace this idea of being unbothered, you know. Like children like to draw on walls and do like very big strokes, you know, while we have like those A4 papers, you know, write on them very small, you know, draw them very small. So when you give people a chance to, oh, here you have a wall, you know, do whatever you want, be creative. It's kind of, you know, you kind of step back and you're like, oh, can I do that? Am I allowed to do that? How can I even do that? You know, because I think that kind of all of the blockage that we have from society and from the way of our living is really pushing us in those really small boxes in every way. You know, like telephones are small, papers are small, and then we can be free and we can really express ourselves on the big stage, you know, on a big campus, on a huge wall. It's really nice to see how you can awake this child inside of you that is unbothered, you know, that can be whatever they want to be. So that's really, I think, great experience that this project really like to awaken in people.
Yeah, the same is the body. Our body, we are very free as a kids, you know, we walk, we have that big movements, we don't have shame. And when we are getting older, our bodies are starting to be so, we are doing mechanical things. We are the creatures of Navika, we habits, and this is the valuable thing about this project. It opens our bodies, our emotions. It always goes with the body, emotions, thoughts, and we became a little more free. It is the journey, but I remember, I think, when I think about the projects like this, I always remember one participant from one project that he was, in the start, was looking always on the floor. And by the end of 10th day, he was like opening his view. I think that is the journey. That is the most important journey, to just be free to express, to look, and to be with others, with you and the world. So
there is one more magic word when we speak about children and their attitudes toward expressions. This is playfulness. When we lose playfulness, we cannot work very good in any art. For me, playfulness is the basic element of every real and serious art. And it's not a lot written about it. It's shameful. Yeah.
I mean, I also wanted to add, you know, the aspect of the educational system that we all, I'm sure, were part of at some point in our lives, which creates inhibitions in children, right? They're unable to express themselves in a natural way, and they are full of, they're self-conscious basically about what they do, how they do it, and that's what it said. Then we get to a point when, you know, you get a wall, and then you ask yourself, should I be doing this? Because, you know, it's not something that's usually taught or allowed. And places like this work, as this name says, as therapy for these inhibitors. It allows us to free ourselves of these
Boundaries.
chains, boundaries, and you know, boxes that we create around ourselves.
Please, continue.
I'm a hammer from this time with me. Okay. The most important thing workshop, I was in theater workshop with Sandra. The most important thing, it's a teamwork. I feel with Sandra. Yeah. And everybody, as you say, support each other. When we finished the play, it was perfect. Wow, wow, and support each other. Yes. And I wanna say something about resilience. We came here. I'm so proud of me and our team. It's traveling is from Palestine to here is resilience, actually. Yes. And thank you for this festival, and I hope to come here next years again.
Thank you.
It's very important that you said that in the community that you are building. This is, I think, a very strong thing about projects like this, that they are really building a sense of, community and support. It's not only what was happening into the workshops, but between the workshops, everyone, the way they were connecting with each other, helping each other, understanding each other, supporting each other, and creating something that has value, that is based on their personal stories, and everything that bothers us. Like you said, your story is resilience. The way you came is very big. We need to learn from that. We need to learn from each other.
Yeah, because we live in a neoliberal world where individual is, a saint concept, and nobody wants us to really make these communions, these connections, to work together. So to be willingful to do something like this, it is a kind of rebellion against this culture.
Yeah.
And it is urgent to do this.
I think that's really the core of the whole idea for me, that these gatherings of so many different people from so many backgrounds, it creates experience for them, and it will create also more ethics. They will look at things in a more critical way when they see variation of different people from different ideas, and this exactly is how you can build a stronger generation to lead in the future and to be a good part of the society and the world system, basically, hopefully. Yes, it is very ambitious to say that, but if this is how we can do it, or how we can help in building that, then we should do it every year. Every 2 months.
Understand each other. Just to know that we are all human. We have all the same needs. To be safe, to feel protected, to be connected. And when you are creating the group and we're working, you just became open to understanding the perspectives of others.
What I would add is just this, that what you were speaking is not about experience per se, but about first-person experience. First-person experience,
yes.
My personal
Yes.
experience. What is very wrong with school system is that young people are somehow in a role that they have to accept the third-person experiences. And this is not something that is connected with their body, with their emotions and so on, what we were speaking. And to allow them and help them to get first-person experience also about bad things and good things and so on is very, very important.
And to give them the whole wall to draw on, just be as big as you want, but you're protected.
Or to let them scream as much as
Yes, exactly. Yes. To be
screaming can be healthy.
Yes.
And also, I think as part of the education system, since many of you are professional educators, and to kind of connect that to non-formal education, it's really interesting to see how much more freedom you have there and what else can you present to people in that way. And I think that in the last, I don't know, 10 years, just the whole idea of informal and not formal education really grew, specifically in European states. And I think to see that even youth work is being recognized as, professionally through non-professional education is really interesting and really nice to see that it's really important, and that this kind of projects, when people like you all said from all different backgrounds can come together, learn from each other, get to know each other, and really see that there are different ways to think, to look at stuff, and to open up your horizons, which is sometimes a bit harder, like in formal education, since it's so localized, But in this way, I think it's really beautiful to see how much can you get, like you said, just as you personally, as me personally, and as we all together as a group.
I also want to share some
Yeah.
thoughts about this workshop. Usually I don't speak in English because I'm very nervous, but I came here in Slovenia and wrote resilience. And then I said to myself, okay, Anna, you will be resilient of that fear of speaking in English. I just want to say thank you all for being here 15 days with all these wonderful people and working together. I'm so proud that we worked together at the theater workshop with Dado and Petra. At some point I finished music academy and I'm studying Academy of Performing Arts, and something that I saw here is that everyone was into it. I didn't feel that feeling earlier, but yesterday we had a final show and it was amazing to see someone doing together, and that we are supporting each other, the other groups, the musicians, the artists, and to see someone, even if we are not in the workshops, to see, oh, Doran can play the bass, or Eva is playing with the mask. That's the other level of, I don't know how can I say, education or whatever. It's to learn, to work in theater, but the other side is friendship. It's like meeting Baha, all Baha now is singing on the stage. And just I'm very proud of all of us, and I just want to say again thank you.
For me it was really interesting, the reasons why we came to special workshops. We all had such a different reasons. Some people came to improve, or to try, or to show their feelings and explore new things. And you really, while you're doing that, while you're dancing with other people, you get to know them on so many different levels. And we did a lot of practices, or I don't know how to say that, but when we had to keep the eye contact. And it's so interesting, we forget to really look people in the eyes sometimes. And I think you see a really nice side of every person to look in the eyes if you take your time to do that. So, as a group, we really grew together, and I learned so many new things and tried. It was really amazing.
I wanted to say something about Yaka mentioned support, and you all mentioned the differences between just being a child and being so free and careless, and it's kind of free versus as an adult what you do. And I felt that just during these workshops, it was like an inner child that awakened in me, and it was really well supported by everybody that was in the workshop, and then as well as just the whole group project we did at the end. It was just so amazing and inspired me to do so much more. I haven't done any theater in the last 4 years, ever since graduating college. So this was just, I don't know, it was
realize what you did until you think about it and speak with others, and then you finally all realize that, I mean, you all have the same experiences, and that it's not just you, and it's like a group work. I don't know.
I was amazed. I think on third day we were doing the eye contact sharing. How they were prepared and ready to do that. It's very hard for us. For me, one of the hardest workshop is just looking in the other people's eyes, because we are close. That's why when I found my own boundaries, and that is what I learned from you. You're very, very eager and very ready and to share and to be with others and to be that support. Eye contact is supporting each other. So
working in the U.S. with Tina Landau, I heard a wonderful phrase that she uses when working with actors and a creative team. She says, working with an open heart and doing everything when creating theater, doing it with an open heart. And I think, you're available then, you're present, and you're vulnerable. And to be able to be vulnerable, I believe, is wonderful. And Lida and I were watching the performance last night. First of all, for us it was just like, our hearts were beating so hard. Because it's not that we have a fear of them doing something wrong, but it's that you feel the energy of like 50 souls on the stage, and it's just that you cannot stay indifferent towards that. And then you get the goosebumps, your heart is coming out of your mouth, and so on. And what I wanted to say is that what I mentioned, right, playfulness. Yesterday, before the show started, I noticed Eva and Freya and Nicola playing with the masks. Right? And then I immediately paused for a second, went to think to myself about my college days, about first time meeting with a mask, and how much formality there was around the mask. Like, you have to be very respectful towards the mask. You cannot just grab the mask. You have to meet the mask. You have to let the mask accept you, and so on and so on. So like, you're very okay, mask. You do it only when you're ready to do that. But to see them play like that with the mask, I'm like, yes, that's the key. Like the playfulness is the key. And why stop them with these formalities that are, maybe not so.
That was easy for them to interact with others. You saw the tourist was passing by and they were like and walking beside them. It created some connections and freedom to do it.
Yes. So many layers of it. Vedan was also saying one day he was just like sitting in the back alone, and he was saying how amazed he was at like the different layers of different groups. Like there's a group there chatting, there's a group playing with frisbee, and and it's just like these layers and these social aspects of this exchange are the beauty of it and the richness of it.
Will anybody else want to tell something?
Any fun questions?
When's the next one?
That's a fun one, yeah.
I prepared some ideas about this theoretical background of what we are planning. So if you're willing, I can read you. It's a little more information than they were published also on the website. If you like, I can present this, and then perhaps you can react to this. Okay. Yes, I work at the Faculty of Arts. My field of experimenting is especially education with art for many years. So that's that you will realize where are coming those ideas of mine. I would like to start with one quotation from the paper Education and the Law for the World, Articulation of Post-Critical Pedagogy. It is a theoretical paper about new ways of understanding what school and education should be about. So they say education stems from our love of the world, and in the world there are many good things worth preserving. We must enable the next generation to engage in the restoration of things that belongs to the world, to rejuvenate them, to bring them back to life. As such, educational love is always twofold. Love for the world goes hand in hand with love for the new generation. And such a post-critical pedagogical philosophy enables the transformation of current life and practices that are destructive to the environment. This idea is very, very important because we often see the school as institution that should somehow just keep previous culture as saint, but the idea of education is that we must support young people to step into the world and to change the world, their own emotion, things, way of living, and so on. So for the restoration of the world, we need hope for all those who suffer the consequences of polluted environment and heartless politics. But as Greta Thunberg wrote in the climate book, hope is not something that is given to you. It is something you have to earn, to create. You can't get it passively by standing on the sidelines and waiting for someone else to do something. Hope is action. It is stepping out of your comfort zone. This is from the book which was published last year. Very, very important book. The hope that Greta Thunberg calls for is thus linked to our readiness for change and to action. Resistance against traditional cultural codes emerge in youth as soon as they form as a distinct social group situated between childhood and assuming full adult responsibilities. This occurred in the later half of the 19th century when the first youth movement, the Wanderbirds, emerged in Germany. So it is not something new. At the starting point, when we start to speak about young generation, not just children and adults, there comes a fight between culture of young generation and culture of previous generation. It is very, very natural, and we should respect this fact. So in Slovenia, the first more structured youth movement emerged in the 1920s, very, very early. These were so-called križari, or the Crusaders, a progressive Catholic youth. The first study on the significance of youth movement and rebellion was published in 1931 and written by our classical theorist of education, Stanko Gogala. The primary message of the study was that youth rebellion against traditional adult authority should not be seen as a problem, but as a necessary gesture in the process of seeking personal meaning and moral self-image. Youth do not reject authority as such, but seek their leaders, role models who will encourage them to actively and directly perceive the objectivity of the world. Thus youth strive not to dismantle schools as conveyors of cultural values, but for inner self-education and educational collaboration. They seek teachers, guides, who are authentic personalities. Similar processes are evident in the new aesthetic movements during this period, when emerging artists attempt to establish their own aesthetical concepts yet established artistic community does not really exist. An iconic example is the establishment of the Salon des Réfugiés in Paris in 1863. As youth search not only for their truth but also their models of expression, it is not coincidental that youth rebellions in the 20th century are strongly linked with emerging popular culture and mass media. Forms of youth rebellion with post-war movements are numerous, ranging from between strategies of escapism or retreat into their own world and direct social rebellion, as it was studied by Robert Merton. Such as the student protests in the late 1960s and early 1970s. The rising individualism and social anomie, the losing of ties between the individual and social institutions, encouraged by neoliberalism, effectively channeled rebellion into new forms of escapism, a kind of autonomous scenes. However, public social youth rebellion was resurrected in the last decade, particularly related to ecological themes. I have to mention again Greta Thunberg and the growth of totalitarianism and accompanying pandemic measures. A similar breakthrough into the public social sphere can be observed in the realm of contemporary urban art in the form of activism, which makes a specific type of engaged art that arises from civil activism, appears in the public sphere, including guerrilla actions within established artistic institutions, derives from street art experience, and manifests in various forms like public space murals, installations, performances, and so on, and aims not necessarily art critic or depiction of current situations, but triggering responses and mobilizing people to question the status quo. What should we say about youth rebellion at school? In the educational environment, support for youth rebellion is linked to first recognizing the equality of intelligences between the teacher and the student. This is the concept of Jacques Rancière, thus assuming that young youth possess enough capacity for creative action. Young is not a vulnerable child who needs only support. He has full capacities to think, to feel, if he has an opportunity and our support to do this. Second, acknowledging that conformist behavior achieved through discipline, note, on its own is an inadequate goal of moral education, even though it is undoubtedly contains a certain degree of social value. I usually say, be afraid of people who are very polite, who are very disciplined. You never know what they will do when they jump out of their skin. Yeah. And third, the ultimate goal of education should be subjectification of youngsters. This is the concept of Gerd Bista, which means that educators should support youngsters to step into the world as engaged, critical, and responsible subjects, with their first-person experiences, not just our thoughts about the world, about values, and so on. The pedagogy of hope from Paolo Freire today is grounded in the concept of permaculture, reflecting love for the world and the hope that we can creatively shape the world as our home without destroying the planet's future. It also relies on the idea of the educational significance of first-hand experiences gained by actively engaging in creative educational projects, whether it's entering artistic practices or in environmental activities. The educational significance of caring for the world and our existence within it, replacing technological and metaphysical experience of the world, is evident in the works of great philosophers of 20th century like Martin Heidegger, and also in the foundational ethics of care by Nell Noddings, which is citated, for example, in the last UNESCO study, A New Social Contract for Education, or reimagining our future together. Care is also the phenomena of the core of the classical understanding of aesthesis, that is the attentive, mindful relationship with the observed and staged world, and also with the concept of so-called poetic pedagogy. This is also the ultimate goal of the current project, being resilient. And what should slogan being resilient mean to young people today? Being resilient today can no longer mean the romantic escapism as it did during the hippie flower power movement, but resilience now signifies a more active confrontation, even rebellion. Rebellion with multinational corporations like Monsanto, which disable self-sustaining permaculture farming through genetically modified seeds. Then rebellion with political regimes that tolerate youth cultures as long as they remain confined to individualistic scenes, but actively discourage youth environmental and political activism. Third, rebellion with imposed digital culture that exploits social media algorithms to exploit our lifestyles of the promotion of consumerist thinking and the creation of fake news and illusions of solid meaning among like-minded individuals. And last but not least, a rebellion with the educational culture that strives to develop in young people primarily those competencies that serve the interests of global capital, while considering the encouragement of artistic creativity, which could develop a mindful and critical approach to reality as merely a secondary goal. Therefore, I see the Being Resilient project as an encouragement for the activation of the creative potentials of the youth. And for the as last thought, I took a beautiful thought of Giuliano Mercamis, your mentor, who once said, "Freedom of expression comes first, before the freedom of occupation and everything else."
Yes.
This is the beginning of everything. And I think that this is for me, this is the greatest value of that kind of projects. So, this is from the theoretical, pedagogical background, a kind of trying to reflect on the idea of this project.